The New York Times, they blast Republicans for, quote, unfounded conspiracy theories about the IRS. They just have a short memory at the New York Times.
The Times said Republicans who have long accused the IRS of unfairly targeting conservatives. And I'm saying Republicans have long accused the IRS. The IRS, and I'm holding the order in my hand that we obtained in federal court, a consent order by the IRS acknowledging the wrongdoing and putting procedures in place. So these headlines are wrong. And now you're going to give an agency that's incapable of self-correcting 87,000 new agents. Folks, that's exactly why the ACLJ exists.
Why on earth would the liberal media and the left in general love a more powerful federal government? Yet they call us the fascist authoritarians. But authoritarianism is all about centralizing power at the national level. They still, by the way, want to defund the local police. They just want to fund the federal. They love the federal cops because they're so politicized. The FBI, I.R.S, they come in with all their political bias against conservatives.
They are throwing literally tens of billions of dollars at the IRS. Don't tell me that, we're not going to touch anybody under $400,000. You have nothing to worry about. There is no worse feeling in this country than getting a notification from the IRS that you're under audit. And that's what the Democrats are asking for.
We showed throughout that time, we had letters from Democrat members of Congress, and again, Facebook, YouTube, everybody listening. We can produce these for you if you'd like. Ask us before you flag. Always asking the IRS to go after conservatives. So they actually go to the IRS just like they're doing now, and they're doing that with the FBI right now.
Yes.
Right now they're doing it to the FBI with conservative activists. They did it to parents going to school board meetings. So they utilize all these different agencies of the federal government that have a law enforcement kind of division, which IRS does too.
Of course.
And they use them to target political opponents.
You're right. Congress launched this whole thing. Members of Congress writing letters. And then Lois Lerner, there's emails, and we got these in our discovery, where they actually said, let's see if we can get the FEC, Federal Election Commission, the Department of Justice criminal, if we could just bring one criminal case, they said, just one criminal case, we can shut this down. What is shutting down? Conservative free speech? The ACLU should have been filing the case with us in actuality. But now you're going to weaponize it more by throwing so much money at it that they get 87,000 new agents.
This is the low-hanging fruit for the Internal Revenue Service.
Yes.
They do not go after billionaires and multimillionaires because they can afford to have CPAs and tax lawyers and be tied up with the IRS in litigation for years. They go for people who they know cannot afford legal representation. And so, therefore, you're left with a choice. Pay them or not and get penalized by them, or they take your business or your property.
They've already backed off this. Is it going to increase? Of course it's going to increase audits for people under $400,000.
Yeah.
Okay, they're looking at the gig economy, they call it. Those are musicians, hair shops.
There's a lot of people who at the end of the day, maybe their employer at a small business takes home around $400,000 a year, $500, somewhere around that. But they also were employing under 50 people, but 40 plus people, with good jobs.
Yep.
And they're coming after them. They're coming after the employer of which small business is the backbone of our country. Most people aren't just corporate America who go into a giant office building every year. And even people do go into office buildings. A lot of those offices are small businesses.
The American people should not be tolerating this. But listen, Joe Biden's claiming this is a win. Don't kid yourself. They get this package through, and this is like a legislative victory for them.
They think this is great. Now, the IRS portion, they have played down.
Yes.
Because when that gets polled, of course it polls horrible amongst both Democrats and Republicans. So they don't want to talk about that aspect. That's why they've got their media out there saying it's missed this bad information, flag it, to say that the IRS is army sized with 87,000 new agents. But I asked the New York Times this: the IRS itself put up on its website that they were looking for people who would be ready to shoot to kill.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, ultimately, that has been changed. First, they had to put it back up because they actually did put it up. Then they edited it. But the mainstream media doesn't want to include that, right?
I mean, think about that for a moment. They said you have to have special agents of the IRS be prepared to use lethal force.
That's not fake. That's not conspiracy. It's shocking, but it's true. And the New York Times, though, they don't want people talking about this IRS issue. It is the one part of this legislation that resonates the most quickly with American people and they dislike so much.
So here's what it is. The American Center for Law and Justice, ACLJ action, all of our capabilities, legislatively, in Washington, D.C., in federal court, in, like I said, in the halls of Congress, we are there for you, fighting for you, and fighting for your family.